What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this opening segment of this very important video, guys, smash a like if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the bell notification. You'll get proper updates from our channel. Anyway, let's jump straight into what I wanted to talk about, which is something huge happened back in 2024 with stablecoins, and very few people are talking about it. Now, for the first time in history, stablecoins outperformed the volumes or Visa's volumes. This is wild. Now, usually Visa handles transactions where users buy real goods and services with added value, and most stablecoins are actively based on, you could argue, arbitrage, bots, and whatever. But nevertheless, there is a stablecoin bill and a stablecoin adoption happening. Now, why am I talking about this today in this video? You remember back in January, I mean, if you've been in crypto as long as I've been, you know that Tether has always been at the crosshairs of regulation, of governments. The latest episode happened back in January. Fun on Tether, the CEO of Coinbase states that it could delist USDT in new regulation if the new regulation is required. Now, what's happening right now is, boom. If you want to know what could cause catastrophic FTX or bigger style bear market, or what our next catalyst of a bear market is or could be, look no further than the battle for stablecoins. Now, I'm telling you this because a lot of you will be holding USDT at the end of the run. And I would say right now, USDC has the regulation. So I'm doing God's work here, right? You should be smashing the like because that is very important. If anything happens to Tether and you're holding USDT, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, guys, but we've just seen rug after rug. We've seen the largest collapses. FTX could never go down, right? So you got to be thinking smartly. So notice so far, I've introduced you to the volume of stablecoins from 2024 outpaced the volumes of Visa, which is absolutely staggering. Then I showed you back in January, there was FUD regarding the Brian Armstrong coming out and saying, look, you know, they could potentially delist USDT due to the impending regulations. This was back in January. And today you've got the Senate stablecoin legislation has key features. Now, of course, there are 2 points that they need to highlight. Stablecoins must be fully backed by dollar or T-bills. Also needed to have audited annual financial statements. And then number 2, stablecoin holders will be prioritized as creditors in the event that the issuer insolvency, essentially replacing them above all other unsecured claims, similar to how banks and depositors are treated. Crypto adoption. Remember this, guys. Okay, first point of the legislation disqualifies Tether, right? Under the current framework, the second is just as important, okay? This kind of creditor protection will not extend to Tether holders. Now, how do we know this? You will see it here. Okay, so it's called the Genius Act establishes federal safeguards to protect stablecoin holders to enhance consumer confidence, 100% reserve backing with US dollar, short-term treasuries, or similar liquid assets as determined by the primary regulator. And then you've got here, in insolvency proceedings, the Genius Act prioritizes claims of holders permitted to payments in stablecoins over all other creditors in the event that the payment stablecoin issuer does not go or goes bankrupt. Okay, very, very strategic bill. And of course, this is something that I'm going to be monitoring. But right now, big up to Mr. Vix here, who's done a brilliant, obviously presented this. But look, do not panic over this, right? There's 99 problems in crypto right now. Stablecoins ain't one. So, you know, don't jump the gun. But I'm telling you, I've been seeing this since back in the days, 2018. Tether has consistently remained under the radar of authorities, and for obvious reasons. Of course, Tether does hold US treasuries, so I'm hoping this will be all cool in the end. So in terms of Bitcoin is decoupling to some extent, and there's growing evidence that Bitcoin is actually going on its own journey. And of course, the US dollar here, gold, Bitcoin, and AI. This is start considering the future paths. Alex Racy's post here: future path to to contemplate with the way to generate wealth. Okay, so crypto in the long run, probably just because of the way AI is going to be influencing the markets. A lot of bots will be doing what we do now: autonomous agents and decentralized computing. So, US dollar, gold, Bitcoin, AI. I guess that's his point, but we know that, and of course, Tau is a very good project in the long term. Anyway, even if we get a bear market, you buy decentralized AI rather than going for individual shitty AI agents that are pump and dumps. You buy the main infrastructure. So a quick update here. Of course, Raul Powell post here. I've talked about the M2. He's talking about the M2. There's people in the comments that talk about the M2. But again, it is the best. I would consider one of the best macro indicators. And you could see, of course, he draws a bottom in line here this year. So pretty much where we are now. And then there's an expansion to that. Of course, there could be debates on how that, how that's interpreted, but it's always a good tool to look at. Now, is Bitcoin decoupling? So the argument here is Bitcoin versus stock. So if you see the yellow line is Bitcoin, and then you've got, of course, NASDAQ and SPX in the purple and red. And it feels like this time it could be the start of a separation. Now, why do I say that? That's because Bitcoin doesn't give a shit anymore. We should be dumping. We should be in the low 70s. But whilst the stock market is tanking, it's very important to understand that Bitcoin is holding as strong as it can. Now, here's another very good chart that allows you to kind of just gauge what's out there. Now, you buy when the sentiment is low. Facts. And look at the sentiment here. The sentiment has never really been lower, or has been the lowest since the 1980s. You can clearly see, the 1980s over here. But this is why I love crypto right now. Now, you might be noticing, like, what's going on here. So I normally just switch to market cap. So Raydium. Let's talk about Raydium real quick, guys. I'll give you a couple of projects before I leave. $600 million market cap. Raydium went from a small $30 million, $40 million market cap project to becoming a nearly, $1 billion, $2 billion, $2.5 billion project. And then it crashed. And recently, the price of Raydium has just started to skyrocket. So if you look at the last 24 hours, the last 7 days, and the last 1 month, you will see Raydium's price performance is relatively to the right. It's recovered and it's moving to the right. Why is that the case? Now, if you remember, Pump.fun pissed off Raydium, and they pissed them off by launching their own exchange, which really then pissed off Raydium. So the latest innovation, sometimes things got a break, but Raydium has now launched its own, I think it's called Raydium Labs, Launch Labs. And I'm going to quickly show you what this says here. You enter Raydium, but now they've actually got something that is way better for people that launch meme coins. Okay? So you got all the shit coins over here. This looks like Pump.fun. You can connect to your wallet straight away. But the main difference here is that 10% of the 10% of the liquidity, of the transaction fees actually go directly to Raydium. So you might want to now come and do your, instead of going to Pump.fun. And I think the whole idea is to incentivize creators not to dump the tokens. Okay. So if you're going to get 10% of all the fees that your shitcoin generates, and look at these market caps, I mean, this, it's ridiculous. It really is. I mean, it's shitcoins on steroids. Okay. So you've actually got an easier way. You don't have that nauseating effect of Pump.fun going absolutely berserk. But yeah, I mean, you might want to, it's very risky, but Raydium as a result has obviously benefited hugely from that. Of course, you've got perpetuals on Raydium as well. And this is again, a place where a lot of the action is going to happen. All right. So that's an update on Raydium. Raydium's still relatively small in my opinion. You should check out Raydium. And that's why possibly the likes of, the SUI ecosystem, CTES, Turbos Finance, not just the DEXs, but also some of the fundamental projects for me on a smaller scale on Solana would definitely, I'm still focusing on SUI as the main network. Just before I go, guys, I've just been sweeping through some projects. I can't believe how low the price of Arweave is, right? Now, if you remember recently, I mean, this was at $4 something today, but look at this. Bear market back in, let's say, January 2023. The price of Arweave was $9. Okay, the lowest it got was $3.85, but that was the bottom for altcoins back in October 16th. Now we find ourselves with a price of just $5. Now, if you look at this, if you switch this to market cap, all right. So the lowest market cap right now is at 300 million, but the tokenomics are excellent. Now, what they've done, of course, there's also Walrus now on the SUI network, but they've also launched AO, which is their decentralized computer network. All right. Anyway, guys, check out Arweave. I think it's a very, very good project under the radar. Yesterday we talked about Algorand because I just want to give people some quality projects that could potentially move up quite high. Again, Algorand. Look at the prices. Bear market prices. Yes. Look at this. 2020. What is this? 2022. 31 cents. Bear market, 16 cents. It's now 18 cents. It is absolutely prime for a crazy move. There is a Solana ETF news that's coming for all of you Sol holders, which is going to be very, very good news. I think, the move on the kind of like, say, future side will be very, very aggressive. And Sol, of course, 400 to 800 this cycle could be very, very interesting. But like I said, SUI is the soul of the cycle. We don't want to talk about too much in terms of the individual projects. I'll bring you another video, but I hope you found what I told you today useful. All right. Investment, consumer sentiment is at all-time low, which should allow you to buy crypto and assets that you like without having to worry about the bottom. Because regardless of where we go from here, I think we're very either at the bottom or close to it, or it might have already been in for Bitcoin at $76,000. All right. God bless you guys. I'll catch you on the next one.